Okay. Good morning, guys. Today I'll be teaching you how to make how to use a gradient tool to create a fine effect in Photoshop, just like this one. Well, basically, this is what we'll be creating today. This beautiful design you see here. So this is what we'll be creating. So first things first, you need to get the bottle. That's the PNG file. I'm going to send it to you guys though. So I downloaded it. So let me check for mine. Okay, this is mine. So this is the bottle. Don't mind my voice, I'm just waking up, that is why. Okay. So first things first, we'll create our new workspace. Um, Let me go with this. Make sure you set it to just follow. Just copy my settings. Yes, just copy my settings. I always do make my foreground to be gray because of my eyes. It's enter. Well, hmm. Okay, so the next thing to do is we'll go to the bottom now. Yeah, so this is the new workspace I created, and this is the bottom. I already put bring it inside Photoshop. It's already in Photoshop right now, so I want to work with it. So how can I transfer it to this place? So I'm going to copy it by pressing Ctrl C. Then I'll come to this my new workspace. I'm going to press Ctrl V to paste. Okay. Then I'll go back to my reference that we'll be using today. Then I'm going to drag it to this other place. I just want it to be showing there, so I'm going to click and hold this top. This top. I'll click and hold and bring it down a bit. Then I'll resize it. I just want it to serve as a reference to what we're creating, just like the way we did in the clean video. Uh-huh. So yes, sorry, sorry, I'm still trying to set this. Okay. So we want to start creating this. Okay. You see the bot is already in my workspace now. If you check if you can see here now, you'll see that on my layer, the bot is here because I've already bring it to Photoshop. Okay, so the first thing now I'm going to do is to resize this bottle to my test. Like you can resize it the way you want, but I want to resize it to my own test. So I'm going to press Ctrl T, Ctrl T. Then I'm resize it to how I want. I think this is okay for me. Then the next thing I'm going to do now is I'll come to the like selection tool, but I'll be using the cycle. This is my cube too. So I'll be using it to create this uh, artificial table that you see on my reference there. Yeah, so I'll be using this tool to create that that's the top table. I'll be using this tool for it. So I'm going to zoom in a bit. So I'm going to go click and drag like this. Anyhow, you can leave it, but I'm just showing. So yeah, I've click and drag. Then I'll come to this my foreground. Now, if you notice, my foreground is having brown, light brown, and white. So I don't want that. I want to be working with these colors, this yellow. So I'm going to change. I'll change this my. I'm going to change this foreground. So how do I change it? I change it by clicking um the white that is there. So okay. So I want to work with these colors now. So first things first, I click this part, then I go to my other foreground. I use this part. Yes, so now I'll go to my paint bucket too. Paint bucket too. So, so I'm going to fill in this selection I did with these colors that is here. So I'm going to create a new layer. Then for if you notice this selection that I did is covering my butt. Why? Because on my layer here, the 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 cycle selection and okay, I'll come in place. Okay, so if you notice now, it's on top because the cycle selection and this thing I made is on top my butt. So what I'm going to do now, I'll bring it down a bit so it will be under it. Please don't mind my voice. I'm just waking up. Mm. So the next thing to do now, I'll go to my other foreground. So you can switch your foreground by pressing X on your keyboard. X, X, X. Okay. So now I want to make this selection I did. I want to make it have a multiple colors, more like a gradient. Yes. So now I already have the feeling of this light um, yellow. So I want the feeling of this dark color. So I'll go back to my pen bucket. So I'm going to right click there. You see, it's already showing, but to bring out this, you must right click. Then I'll use this gradient. Then I'll click and drag from this place to this middle to where I want. Are you seeing? Okay. After finishing doing that, I'm going to deselect it by pressing Control D. Control D. Okay, nice. So I will shift it up a bit to go to your move tool. Shortcut to your move tool is V. So V. Then I use my move keys on my keyboard to move. So okay. So now I want to make the body of the table. We just created it up. So now I want to make the body of the table. How do I create that? I'll still go back to my action tool. Now I'm not using this my cue. I'm using this. I'll be using this rectangular tool now to create the body. So it's still the same method applies. I'll zoom in a bit. Okay. So I'll start from this edge to the other edge by clicking and hold. Click. Nice. So the same process also. I will create a new layer. Remember, everything you are doing in Photoshop, you need to create a new layer for it so that when you make mistakes, you can easily correct them. So I'll create a new layer now. So now the same method, I'll go back to my paint bucket. I'm going to pour in my color. If you notice, it's on top the upper table. So I will just bring it down. On my layer, yeah, I'll drag it down a bit. Just whenever you are dragging, make sure until you see that blue line before you leave. Okay, so now everything now is well. Okay. So the next thing now to do is I'll be using this my lights since I've already fill it with my darker color. So I'll be using the light one now to blend everything. So I will enter switch again by pressing X. Then I come to my paint bucket. So I will right click, select my gradients, then click and drag, click and drag. Still the same method. After I finish with my blending and everything, I'll press Ctrl D to deselect. If you notice now, you can't the you can't really tell from the table the colors, the both the up and the down are almost the same. So I want it to be different a bit, like the color to be different a bit. So how do I do that? I'll press Ctrl U on my keyboard to bring out my hue and saturation. So I will reduce the lightness. Mhm. So now I've reduced the lightness to, you can use -14, you can use whatever works for you, but I like this already. So I'll hit my OK. So so I zoom out. We've created the artificial table for this bottle. So the next thing now is to create the background. So how do we create the background? It's still the same um, thing to do, but now we'll not be using our paint buckets. We'll be working with the layer itself. So how do we do that? I'll come to my background. This background you see, I'll unlock it. You can unlock a background by clicking the lock that you see, the padlock that you see there. So now I'll double click my layer to work with the background. I call this layer properties though. So we want our background to have this feeling now. Come to this gradient. This was my previous setup though. So I don't want yellow. I want this. I don't want blue, sorry. I want yellow. So I'll come to my gradient. I'll click this gradient that you see here. This whole entire, I'll just click anywhere here or here. I'll just click. Or you can use this icon that is here. To when you click it, you see stuffs like this. But I'll be working with the basics. I'll click on this icon again. This is the yellow here. Then I click on it. Then I hit enter. It's not really showing like that. I can still go back. I can still go back then click on this my gradients. If you notice there's a big if you notice this entire place like this, my colors are showing here. So I want to make this part a bit brighter. So I'll click on this icon you see here. I'll click on it. Then the color will show you. I'll click on the color. Then make it bright from here. Maybe I'll select a brighter yellow. Are you seeing? I'm okay with this now. You can copy this code if you want. So after I finish doing that, I'll hit OK, OK, and OK. Okay, so now okay, so now we've created the background and everything. There's still something missing. Now I want to create this artificial window you see, this light that you see. So how do we do that? We'll still go back to this tool, rectangular tool. Then I'll create a new layer for it. Now I want to create those box. What's the first thing to do now? I'll click and hold, make a square. Then I'll come to my foreground. Now I'll change this yellow to white. I'll go to my text. I'll fill in. After I finish filling in, I'll deselect. So now if you notice on our reference here, the boxes are 4. So now I want to make mine also to be 4. How do I make that? Since I already have one square, I can duplicate. So how do I duplicate? You duplicate by pressing Ctrl J. Ctrl J, that is a shortcut. Sorry, that is a shortcut, Ctrl J. Now I've already duplicated, but it's not showing because it's on top. But on my layer now, it's showing that I already copied. So on my keyboard, I'll be using my move keys, sorry, to move the one I already duplicate. So I'll use my right key to move it. Then after I'm okay with the position, I'm going to merge these two together. How do I merge? I hold Control on my keyboard, then click this other layer, then Control E to merge. I'll duplicate these two square again. How do I duplicate? Still the same method, Control J. So then I'll be using my keyboard now. My keyboard, the move keys. Now I'm not using my right. I'll be using my down key to move this to the down. So I move. So now we've gotten our um four squares. I'll merge them all together. How do I merge? Control, I will hold control, then click this, then control E. So if you notice, still in that reference, the artificial window is looking slant at the background, is somehow inside slant. So how do we get that? We'll select this window we've already created by pressing Ctrl T. Then after finish doing that, we'll hold Control on our keyboard. Hold Control. Make sure you don't leave the control. Just hold it. Then come to this edge. Click and drag up to anyhow you want it. After you finish doing that, you come to this top also. You click. Now you are dragging down. After you finish, you can leave the control. So now I want to resize. I want to make it big a bit. So you already know how to resize. If you are not still okay with the filling, you can still hold control. Then adjust all the size you want. You can bring this down a bit. Anyhow. So after I finish doing this, I want to blur this a bit. We need to blur it a bit. So how do you blur? You come to filter, you come to blur, you use this Gaussian blur, you set it to maybe this is my own settings, but just use the whatever blur works for you. Why my own is showing like this? If you might use these settings, this same 6.8 in your own now, and it will not be like this based on I'm working with a very high resolution right now, so that is why it is like this. So just use whatever works for you. So this is how I want it. Then I hit OK. So if you notice, on studios our reference, the windows are two. So how do I get that? I'll duplicate this window I already created by pressing Ctrl J. So if you notice now, we've already duplicated, but it's not showing. Why? Because it's on top of it. So I'll press my V on my keyboard. V is move to shortcut. Then I'll use my uh, move key to move it to the right. If this move key is slowing you down, you can click on it and drag. If you notice that you are dragging stuff and it's not going straight the way you want, just hold shift on your keyboard. You see it has automatically positioned it for me. When you hold shift, then you drag it to this point that you want. So now you see the two are the same, but in the reference here, they are facing each other. But now it's as if the two windows are backing each other. So how do you get that? This one that we already shift to this place, we are going to twist it like we transform the position. How do we do that? We press Ctrl T to select, then you right click, you come to flip horizontal. When you click on it, it see that's automatically change for you. Then that is it. So now I want to merge these two together. Control, then you select the layer, Control E to merge. So now I want to resize my own a bit though. Okay. So if you notice in this, it's still this reference. Our own the window that we created now is showing white, but here it's showing yellow. So how do we get that also? I'll come to this my layer now. This layer, you see, this layer. I will reduce the opacity a bit. After finish reducing the opacity, I'll come to this my normal here. Still on that layer. I'll okay. There's a lot of properties to work about. We're using the soft light, and I can still increase my layer, my opacity a bit. If I'm not still satisfied, I can go back to my soft light. I can use hard light, but I don't want hard lights. I don't want all the soft lights. Is okay to me. So after we finish that, now, what we need to do now, if you notice, still in this reference, there's like a shadow beneath the bottle. So we'll create that shadow now. Let me zoom in a bit. So how do we create that shadow that is there? It's the same thing. We'll go back to this my cycle tool. That is the selection tool. Go back to this one. Then I'll click somewhere here and drag to this side. Something like this. So now I'll come to my foreground. I will change this white to dark. On my layer now, I'll create a new layer. Then drag it to the top like this. Then I'll come to my buckets. I fill. After I finish filling, you control D to deselect. I'll use my opacity to reduce it a bit. Reduce my opacity. After I finish doing that, now I zoom out. If I'm not still satisfied, I can still increase anyhow. So now we finish creating this. Now we want to play with the colors, like we want to color grade it more using camera raw. So if your Photoshop doesn't have a camera raw, then you need to upgrade. I prefer you get the Adobe CC in case you are using CS6. So I'm using CC. So how do we get that? We want to merge all this layer now to become one. How do we merge it? You press Control, Alternate, Shift, Control, Alternate, Shift E. See now, it has automatically created. What after I finish pressing that, it will create a new layer for you by itself. So what next? We'll come to this filter, camera raw. This is what camera raw looks like in case you are seeing it for the first time. So this is what camera raw looks like. So now I will come to this my browse profile here. This that looks like the window I created. So I'll click on it. There's a lot of colors for you to play with. If you use the artist, there's artistic, there's different feeling. but I want the modern. So this modern on this is the one I'll be using for my modern. This one in particular, the modern one. I'll click OK. You see amounts here. You can increase it to your test, but I'm okay with 100. I hit enter. So now it has changed. The whole feeling now has changed. After you finish, you export. You export. As you export, make sure the quality is always set to great. If you are using a higher Photoshop, like I'm using 2021 right now, if you're using a higher Photoshop, you can just increase the quality at the top here to be showing you. So once you set it to great, it will come out nice. The quality and everything will come out really, really nice. So you export, then it will show you the location you want to send your art to. Then you click. You can save it to my anything you want. Then you save. Now if you go to your pictures now, you will see it here. My bottle. This was the reference, and this is the one we created. It's still the same thing. But when I was doing this one, I added more lights here. It's still the same feeling. Do you get? So that is it for today's. That is it for this video. So that is it. If you don't understand anything, you can always tell me. Okay. I'm going to see you guys in my next I'll see you in my next video.